Cinderella.
Like, subscribe, share and hit the bell icon.
In former times, a rich man and his wife were the parents of a beautiful little daughter, but before she had arrived at womanhood, her dear mother fell sick and died to the grief of her husband and daughter. After a time, the little girl's father married another lady. Now this lady was proud and haughty and had two grown-up daughters as disagreeable as herself. She could not endure her stepdaughter and she gave her the most degrading occupations and compelled her to wash the dishes and clean the stairs. When the poor girl had finished her work, she used to sit in the chimney corner amongst the cinders, which made her sisters give her the name of Cinderella. However, in her shabby clothes, Cinderella was 10 times prettier than her sisters. It happened that the king's son sent invitations to a ball, which was to last 2 nights, and to which all the great people of the land were invited, the 2 sisters among the rest. This delighted them very much. They sent to engage the services of the most fashionable hairdresser, but they also called Cinderella to their aid, for she had very good taste, and she offered, in the most amiable manner, to arrange their heads herself. Whilst so occupied, the eldest said, "Cinderella, would you like to go to the ball?" "Alas," said she, "you are ridiculing me. I am not likely to go to the ball." "You are right," replied the sister, "people would be amused to see a Cinderella there." At length, the long-wished-for evening arrived, and these proud misses stepped into their carriage, and drove away to the palace. Cinderella looked after the coach as far as she could see and then returned to the kitchen in tears, where, for the first time, she bewailed her hard and cruel lot, little dreaming that a kind fairy was at the same moment watching over her. She continued sobbing in the chimney corner until a rap at the door aroused her, and she got up to see what had caused it. She saw a beautiful woman who asked her, "Hey, dear me, what are all these tears about, my child?" And then Cinderella told her of all her griefs, how her sisters had gone to the ball, and how she should like to have gone also. "But you shall go," exclaimed her visitor. "Dry up your tears, because I am your godmother, and I can help you." The fairy took Cinderella by the hand, and said, "Now, my dear, go into the garden, and fetch me a pumpkin." Cinderella brought her immediately the best she found. Her godmother took the pumpkin and hollowed it out, leaving only the rind. She then struck it with her wand, and the pumpkin was immediately changed into a beautiful gilt coach. She next sent Cinderella for the mousetrap, wherein were found 6 mice alive. She directed Cinderella to raise the door of the trap, and as each mouse came out, she struck it with her wand, and it was immediately changed into a beautiful horse, so that she had now 6 splendid grays for her gilt coach. The fairy was perplexed about how to find a coachman, but Cinderella said, "I will go and see if there is a rat in the rat trap. If there is, he will make a capital coachman." Cinderella brought the rat trap, in which there were 3 large rats. The fairy selected one, and, having touched it, it was changed into a coachman. Then she touched Cinderella with her magic wand, and her clothes were instantly changed into a most magnificent ball dress. The fairy now took from her pocket a beautiful pair of elastic glass slippers, which she caused Cinderella to put on, and when she had thus completed her work, and Cinderella stood before her, the fairy was much pleased, and desired her to get into the carriage with all expedition, as the ball had already commenced. Her godmother, however, before she took leave, strictly charged her on no account whatever to stay at the ball after the clock had struck the hour of midnight, and then added that if she stopped but a single moment beyond that time her fine coach would again become a gourd, her horses mice, and her old clothes resume their former appearance. The arrival of so splendid an equipage as Cinderella's could not fail to attract general notice at the palace gates, and as it drove up to the marble portico the servants, in great numbers, came out to see it. The king's son, to whom it was announced that an unknown princess had arrived, hastened to receive her. He handed her out of the carriage and led her to the ballroom. Immediately she entered, the dancing ceased, and the violins stopped playing. So much was everyone struck with the extreme beauty of the unknown princess, and the only sound heard was that of admiration. The king's son took her to the most distinguished place and invited her to dance. She danced with such grace that everybody was in raptures with her. When Cinderella saw that it wanted but a quarter of an hour of midnight, she left as quickly as possible. Soon, the two sisters knocked at the door, and Cinderella went to open it for them. "Oh, how late you are in coming home," said Cinderella, rubbing her eyes, as if just awakened. "If you had been at the ball," said one of the sisters, "you would not have been tired, for there was the most beautiful princess that ever was seen, who paid us much attention, and gave us oranges and citrons." Cinderella could scarcely contain herself for joy. She asked the name of the princess, but they said it was not known, and that the king's son was therefore much distressed, and would give anything he had to know who she could be. The next evening the sisters again went to the ball, and Cinderella soon made her appearance, more magnificently dressed than before. The king's son was constantly at her side, saying the most agreeable things, so that Cinderella did not notice how the time passed, and had quite forgotten her godmother's words. She was startled by the first stroke of midnight. She rose very hastily, and fled as lightly as a fawn, the prince following, though he could not overtake her. On her flight, she let one of her glass slippers fall, which the prince picked up with the greatest care. Cinderella arrived at home out of breath, without carriage or servants, in her shabby clothes, and had nothing remaining of all her former magnificence except one of her little glass slippers. When the two sisters returned from the ball, Cinderella asked if they had enjoyed themselves and if the beautiful lady had again been there. They told her that she had been there, but that when the clock struck 12 she had started so quickly that she let one of her pretty glass slippers fall off, that the prince, who quickly followed her, had picked it up, and had done nothing but look at it all the rest of the evening. And that he was very much in love with the beautiful creature to whom it belonged, and would spare no pains to find her. This was indeed the case, for, a few days after, the prince caused it to be published, with the sound of trumpets, that he would marry the lady whose foot would exactly fit the slipper. So, the slipper was first tried on by all the princesses, then by all the duchesses, and next by all the ladies belonging to the court, but in vain. It was then taken to the two sisters, who tried every possible way of getting their foot into it, but without success. Cinderella, who was looking at them, and now recognized her slipper, said, laughingly, "Let me see if it will fit me." The sisters immediately began to laugh, and ridicule her, but the gentleman who had been appointed to try on the slipper, having looked attentively at Cinderella, and finding her very pretty, said she was quite right in her request, for he was ordered to try it on to everybody. He desired her to sit down, and at once found that the slipper would go on her foot, without any trouble, and, indeed, fitted her like wax. The astonishment of the sisters was very great, but still greater when Cinderella drew from her pocket the fellow slipper, and, to the great delight of the gentleman, placed it upon her other foot. Her godmother now made her appearance, and having touched Cinderella with her wand, she made her look even more magnificent than on either of the former occasions. The sisters now recognized in Cinderella the beautiful person they had seen at the ball, and threw themselves at her feet, to implore forgiveness for all the ill treatment they had shown her. Cinderella raised them, and, embracing them, said she forgave them. "My child, always be good, and bear with patience everything that occurs to you, then, whatever toils and troubles you may suffer during life, happiness will be your lot in the end." Cinderella was taken to the palace, dressed in all her splendor. The prince thought Cinderella was more beautiful than ever, and in a few days married her. Thank you for watching my Cinderella story. See you next time with another great fairy tale. Subscribe to my channel. Bye!